Restoring Men and History, and I found this great piece that fits with our mission, and the title is phenomenal. Americans Are Essential, Not Their Government, by J.B. Shirk. And this is relevant, this article, for a long time. American thinker. Now, I love that title because we ratified a limited government. And it's about you, the people, and securing your unalienable rights. We've discussed this. But you can never reiterate it too much. And who has to defend it? You do, peacefully. We as Americans must defend the Constitution and this great country we love called America. So he starts out and he says the House has a new speaker. Yes, we were hoping, by the way, that they wouldn't have a new speaker till about 2024 November, right? That was the joke I kept making. Now attention returns where the government shutdown can be averted before November 17th. This is a continual process. We're always averting these shutdowns, and they always get worked out, and nothing gets solved, and we don't handle the debt or deficits. So this is a continual American problem. That's why this article will continue to be relevant until this ceases, until we stop the omnibus bills and do it the right way, and until these politicians start caring about you, the American people, and the people they serve, servant leaders, servant leadership, and until they can imitate Henry, imitate Washington, imitate the great founders that we love in this country. We must honor them. We'd appreciate it if you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Thank you. All right, if only the American people could place the federal government in lockdown. Yeah, cheers. Now, this will be relevant for a while, like I said, but let's go on. In response to our unmanageable debt problem, there is an online meme that is spreading faster than Biden's human trafficking business at the border. Government shutdown. Here's the meme. Government shutdown, 15 days to flatten the curve. Funny, right? Sounds like a good plan. Shut her down, he says. Shut her down. And we'll see where we are in a couple of weeks. He goes on to say, if the debt and deficit haven't improved, we'll just have to keep the federal government in lockdown. I love this. I love keeping the federal government in lockdown. We should only give them a few days a year up there to do business so they can do the least damage possible. Again, the ratified Constitution was a limited government, and they are not following the Constitution. They are denigrating it. And they take an oath to defend it. Unsustainable spending problem. Yes, it is unsustainable. For all those highly paid partisan bureaucrats worried about their sinecures, stop being so selfish. We say this all the time. Servant leadership. Be servants. Serve your people. Serve the Constitution. Honor it. Start thinking about your country and your people and loving America, not some foreign country. First. Love America first. Take care of the American people first. You took an oath to this Constitution. Protect it. We would appreciate it if you would like, comment, subscribe if you like our cause and believe in it. Thank you. Now think how big policies affect your life, your family's life, your father's, your mother's, your children, and think about what this did here. Policies affect your life. That's why you got to vote. And even if we know there's problems in voting, we know that. We know there's mail-in fraud. We know that there's been massive amounts of fraud. So look, you still got to vote. You still got to volunteer. You still got to work toward this republic because it's the greatest republic ever built. Edward Holman says it best, quote, had we merely refused to raise the debt ceiling one day 40 years ago, think about this massive change in your life, how it affects your life, how now your groceries, your bud, your eggs, your butter, everything's higher because of the way Congress spends your money today. Would have been forced to pay the debt service because we have always collected far more in tax revenue than need to service the debt, end of quote. So what you do matters. Whom you elect. Are they constitutional conservatives? Do they follow the Constitution? Are they going to honor the Constitution? Are they going to cut spending and the deficits or be richly rewarded when they leave office after not doing it? Americans should call the government's bluff, he says, that we would all drown in a lake of fire if the Leviathan doesn't get everything it demands. The Leviathan. In other words, until the federal government gains basic arithmetic and accounting skills and learns to live within a budget, you have to live within a budget, right? Shut her down. He keeps repeating this phrase, shut her down. But how would the warhawks, the neocons we call them, continue funding death and mayhem in Europe if they can no longer use your American taxpayer dollars to pay Ukraine's government. Get this. We read this earlier. Is this confirmed? Workforce and public sector pensions. To even think about it denigrates you, the American citizen, and doesn't honor America. Military strategist Larry Johnson has a good idea. This is funny. President Zelensky should make the rounds in Hollywood pitching a new soap opera, As the War Turns. It would be the story of a beleaguered Jewish comedian thrust into the seat of power, Mr. Wilson, backed up by Nazi hordes, acquiescent to the sock puppet of a malevolent Uncle Sam in exchange for a steady supply of Columbia cocaine and bags of cash. I know John Wilson likes that one. Hollywood could fund World War III all by itself. Now, seriously, should American taxpayers be funding Ukraine retirements? Of course not. We shouldn't even be sending a penny over there for that war. We're in debt. We've got massive deficits. We can't send money to Ukraine. What is the purpose of it? Who's it enriching? Who's winning from that? Military industrial complex on sending the money for the weapons? Anyway, so whose pension plans in the United States have been so mismanaged and dangerously underfunded, the next stock market quake will likely wipe out half Americans' own retirement eggs. You think that'll happen? Crazy. Again, who's benefiting? Who does this serve? Who does it gains by it? He points to the Tucker Carlson speech. Let's take a look at Tucker Carlson.
If you don't want to have another revolution in the country, you should probably start paying a little bit of attention to what the people beyond Washington think. And I mean, if you've been to church once in the last year, have you thought about the end times recently? Yes, you have. I'm serious. Because you can feel that abrupt change is coming, and that's very disconcerting.
So he talks about the threat to America there. Abrupt change, unsustainable. So many people feel this way when I talk to them. Of course, you have a complacent group of Americans that things are moving along well, but you've got Americans that are concerned. And then you've got Americans that don't think it's going to affect them, that they have enough money put away, they're going to be fine. But when communism comes, it will affect most all of us. There's a cost, and much of life and most things are not for free, right? So we can't just be funding all these things. Meanwhile, our dishonest and incompetent ruling class is either asleep. By the way, let's real quick on Tucker. So anyway, a lot of Americans feel that way, and Tucker in that speech talks about going to church in days that we're on the brink of collapse. So that's worrisome, right? Because we know this debt is unsustainable. And what are they going to do? Offer you universal income? What's the plan? Smart cities and universal income. And you've got a faction that would be fine with universal income, right? Meanwhile, our dishonest and incompetent ruling class is either asleep at the switch or actively rolling large boulders onto the track ahead. Now, which of these bother you the most? I'm going to read a list that he talks about. Rigged elections, rampant censorship, and elections have concerned us greatly. We won election integrity here at Restoring Men. And the censorship, your freedom of speech, they fought for it. You need to be able to express your disagreements with the federal government. That's why that freedom of speech was put in there. An economic death spiral and the growing prospect of the century's first truly global war. We shouldn't have given any money over there and not be involved in this. Yet the media's brainwashed minions prattle about climate change, colonialism, diversity, equity, Taylor Swift. Another false, foolish, frivolous blather, he goes on to say. Now watch, the author calls out the political class, which we do often, so we're not going to stay in here a long time, but just a bit. It's also true that he agrees with us. America's leadership class has been found sorely wanting. It consists of frauds and thieves, murderers and misfits. Its butcher's bill includes every victim of the experimental COVID vaccine, every casualty of the uniparties, open borders. Open borders are a disaster. We've got to have that fixed. Damages your citizenship. Damages your family. Every service member sacrificed during Biden's disastrous Afghanistan retreat, and the gone but never forgotten veteran Ashley Babbitt. Its allegiance belongs where? To central bank oligarchs and a royal clique of international elites who call no country home. And that's a big point, right? There are some people that now consider themselves internationalists, globalists. Washington, Patrick Henry, they loved Virginia and they loved this country. They were Virginians and Americans. Patrick Henry had the famous line, We're not just Virginians now, we're all Americans now, right? So look, Americans in name only is a bad thing. We want to be Americans, not world citizens. We want to have sovereignty. We want to have borders. We need it to be a country, a nation. Globalists don't want America to be a nation. We want America to be a nation. We want borders. We want American sovereignty. We want our Constitution. It's the best written Constitution ever in the history of the world. We want to maintain it, not be subservient to the United Nations, which they can't do. But we're not going to go into the Constitution right now. The only political leader in the last 40 years, who are you waiting for, ready, ladies and gentlemen, who actually fought for America instead of against them, is what is happening to him for fighting for you. What is he getting paid back with? Jack Marino, what's he getting fight? Who is the man? Being railroaded in one courtroom after the next, gagged from speaking honestly. Honestly, this is a disaster. We did a video on this gagging, so we won't stop here. You can find it in the videos. And threatened with life in prison for daring to honor his constitutional oath. Well, look, Trump was fighting for you. The Bureau of and Department of Justice commit crimes against the American people, but face no consequences. True, right? So he's talking about the FBI and the Department of Justice. The Department of Homeland Security, he says, has no interest in securing the homeland. Funny, but not, right? Federal bureaucracy's primary work product is disinformation. We've talked about this. We're going to go into more in this because I believe it's so integral to our freedom and your freedom. By the way, come over to the freedom side. And its primary skill is accusing everyone outside of the Borg collective of spreading disinformation. Same people who take a knee in solidarity with Antifa and Black Lives Matter, domestic terrorists, have spent 3 years destroying families for protesting at the U.S. Capitol. Sad, concerning, un-American, right? Not advancing freedom, but on the tyranny side. Do we want tyranny or freedom in America? You got to decide. You got to make a choice and stand peacefully. And we always want to be peaceful. We want to stand peacefully with ideas and win with ideas. That's what we're about here. Education and ideas. He goes on, and we've called this out. The same con men who framed Donald Trump as a Russian spy now frame the presumptive Republican nominee as a common criminal.
So the future of our country, and indeed our civilization, is at stake on November 3rd. I'm the only thing standing between the American dream and total anarchy, madness, and chaos. And that's what it is. I'm representing you. I'm just here. And I'm not sure it's an enviable position, but that's what it is.
The same misanthropes who have drowned this country in debt, drugs, illegal aliens, and violent crimes pretend to care about you. Pretend to care about Americans, he goes on to say. Health, security, prosperity, they pretend to care about that. They do not. They despise this country, he says. They despise its foundation in liberty, and we've talked about this. They despise what else? Its history. Restoring men in history wants to restore history. They want to tear it down. They despise its heroes. They despise the founding fathers. They despise what makes America great. They despise American principles, by the way. We love American principles. We love freedom. They despise freedom. They want power and more. So we just talked about the statues the other day, so you can go back and watch that video. That goes into the Founding Fathers more than George Washington. They despise what the people have accomplished in the past and could do again. Oh, they fear that, right? They're afraid of what the American people could do. So what do? They try to divide you, rich and old, unvaccinated, vaccinated, poor and rich, black and white. But we need to come together for what? And maybe I'll do a separate video on this, for freedom. You can join the freedom side and give your family more opportunity. Like some Marxist globalist bizarre world where the permanent ruling class engages in endless whack-a-mole to destroy everything good, reasonable, and sound, these helmet the American ship today seek nothing less than to scuttle her deep in the sea. Darkness is the deep state's friend. In the many battles that lie ahead, America's leaders will continue taking a knee. That's true, and they have been for a long time. Not honoring the Constitution, not honoring you, not serving. They will play no part in protecting this nation from further harm. Patrick Henry and George Washington were unique and different and exceptional Americans. They fought for you. They fought for posterity. They served. They spent their own wealth advancing this country and their ideas. They risked their lives for you to have this. So it's up to us. They're patching the torch of liberty from them to us. They didn't go there. They lost money. They didn't go up there like today and come out somehow from Washington with $30, $40, $50 million. They were statesmen. It cost Patrick Henry and he would have to go back from the governor to being an attorney to pay for things. He would lose money as Virginia governor during the war. George Washington lost money. These men sacrificed their fortunes and their lives for this country. Going on, as agents of foreign powers, they have no interest in ameliorating American suffering. They do not. You can see it. They want to fund Ukraine while you suffer. They want to protect Ukraine's borders, wink, wink, while our borders are open. The border of Ukraine is so important, but our border is unimportant. This is the Uniparty. This is both Republicans and Democrats funding this. Not the Freedom Party, not the Constitutional Party. If unconstitutional surveillance, we've talked about this a lot, this is damaging to your freedom. Censorship damaging to your freedom. And green energy-induced inflation had not already made that point crystal clear. COVID's epidemic of rank totalitarianism really drove it home good. I hope it did. I hope people remember it and never forget the tyranny of COVID. Make no mistake, when the doomsday clock strikes midnight, we, the people, will be on our own, he goes on to say. That's okay, he says. America is much more than its government, and Americans are much more capable than those who insist on ruling over us. I'll tell you what he knows to be true. He'll tell you what he knows to be true. We will get through what's coming. The American government is corrupt, dangerous, and quasi-insane, but the American people still possess a unique and indomitable spirit. I believe that. I believe you, the American people, do have that spirit of liberty that Patrick Henry had and passed on to you. Now, he goes on to one of his favorite depictions of that spirit retold in Stephen Ambrose's Band of Brothers. Great film. Have you seen it? I mean, great TV series. Great. Fantastic. Easy Company's heading for the Ardennes forest near Bastogne to face the Germans in what would be known as the Battle of the Bulge. Without food, without winter clothing, without ammunition, the young soldiers have no support but each other. A horrified lieutenant tells Captain Winters that his guys will be completely surrounded. But what does he say back? Captain responds assuredly, "We're paratroopers, Lieutenant. We're supposed to be surrounded." Great line, right? Great series. Watch it if you get time, men. It's a great series. An ominous quote attributed to the 506th Parachute Infantry Regiment that appears on the black screen. Farthest from your mind is the thought of falling back. In fact, it isn't there at all. And so you dig your hole carefully and deep and wait. Now he goes on, I've always felt that we Americans were meant to be surrounded. Throw any manner of hardship our way and we'll somehow survive, he says, some evil in our direction, and we'll fight it tooth and nail. Just because the woke tyrants make all the noise, don't underestimate the Americans who have carefully dug their holes and now patiently wait. For too many Americans, falling back will never be an option. What one man can do, another can do, Sir Anthony Hopkins memorably averred. What one generation of Americans do, another can do, he says. Without help from a bloated government, bureaucracy, or corrupt and worthless ruling class, Americans will endure. Sometimes it's only when we're surrounded by danger that we find the courage and fellowship to stare down evil and prevail. Now, you know I'm going to hit fellowship. You need fellowship. You need to do this with other Americans peacefully. Stand for the truth. Stand for freedom. Restrain the federal government peacefully, constitutionally. It's up to us. And it can be done. We can restore history and restore America and restore this republic. Thank you. We would appreciate it if you subscribe, and like this video if you believe in the cause. Thank you, and have a magnificent day.